Jameson, go back again to 31 across the DFS industry, and we are back for this has to be like the worst Thursday night football game possible, right? Cincinnati and Jacksonville. I guess Jacksonville and Houston be up there. I was going to be Jacksonville and Detroit again, some version of those teams. So this is up there. Like, this has to be in the top like 5% of outcomes of one of the worst games to watch. Yet we have DFS, which means we can watch it and support it and root for guys that even if we don't like the Bengals and don't like the Jaguars, and it makes it fun. So looking forward to breaking it down to you for you all. Two quick reminders. All right. Actually have three. First off, once again, big shout out to my boy at Keats39. He will be back here for Monday Night Football, but Keats won $250,000 on Sunday, taking down the $12, the $100, the $150, fourth in the Millie Maker. An absolute insane day. So I don't know if he's still out from under the clouds. I talked to him a few days ago and he's like, yeah, still the buzz is real, but congrats to him. Hopefully we can have another winner like that in the FSI Discord coming up. And then for those watching, like, subscribe, comment, all really helps. And then finally, if you are interested in prize picks, I'll be doing some of my favorite, just going over some of my favorite plays at the end. All right, let's jump into the Draftkings. And let's just start out. I'm going to actually not start out at the top. My favorite player on the entire slate is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is now back to kind of the role we've been wanting for Joe Mixon for years now, which is no sort of third down guy like Gio Bernard. Nobody's splitting his time. It's just full out Joe Mixon, and he's rewarded us. Now, we haven't gotten the passing upside that we want, in large part due to the last two games. The two of the last three games, the script not needing. But we're getting 20-plus touches a game. We have receiving upside, and now we go against Jacksonville defense that is absolutely awful versus the run. So to me, Joe Mixon is my priority captain, my top play on the slate, followed closely by Joe Burrow, who, from a passing expectation standpoint, he was about as low as you possibly could see last week at Pittsburgh, only getting 18 passes. We know that Cincinnati wants to be in the 25 to 30 range, run a ton of plays, all that good stuff. But, he's been double digits every game, 18. That's funny, 18.64 and 18.58, two of the three games. So he seems to like 18. But, on this slate where I don't think playing both quarterbacks is by any means a lock and load. We're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence here in a minute. Locking in Burrow, I think locking at least one makes sense. Now in GPP, could be really interesting to go off the board, just knowing how owned quarterbacks are going to be. But I think from a cash and optimal standpoint, which is what we're talking about here, that we like Joe Burrow, even at his hefty 11.6 price tag. Trevor Lawrence has been pretty bad this season. Obviously, he had the great first game versus Houston. A lot of that was dictated by Jacksonville going way down, right, and passing the entire second half, 51 attempts. But otherwise, it's been a struggle, been an absolute struggle for Trevor Lawrence. Now he has, 7 interceptions. So we're going to talk about the Bengals D here in a minute. But, I don't think at a 10-4 he's by any means a lock. But, in cash, he does have some rushing upside. Who had 6 carries the last 2 weeks, especially in the red zone. We could see him, run one in. I think he's fine. But if you didn't go there, and right now in my builds that I played around with, I did not end up on Trevor Lawrence. I think it makes sense. Bengals have a good defense. We saw Ben Roethlisberger, or the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger, or whatever that was, struggle over since he's in Pittsburgh. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence can get around a lot better than Ben Roethlisberger, but I don't think by any means, fading Trevor Lawrence in cash is a death sentence. I'd be shocked if he's the one that kills you. Jamar Chase obviously has looked a lot better in the regular season than he did preseason. Now has a touchdown every game, had 2 touchdowns last week. That is due to regress, considering we're only looking at, 12, 16 targets through 3, so averaging about 5.5 targets a week. Should be noted there's no T. Higgins. That's a big red zone threat. We know Burrow and Jamar Chase have a ton of chemistry going back to college. Big reason they drafted Jamar Chase was because of Joe Burrow. So I like the play. 10-2 is a lot. He could be like a contrarian captain option just because of his price. I think everybody's going to flock to Tyler Boyd, who I'll talk about here in a minute. But, Jamar Chase has big play ability, obviously has the talent pedigree in Jacksonville. It's just, there's nothing Jacksonville does well right now. So, almost any Bengal you could sell me on. James Robinson is going to be a pass for me. I've actually just been scared to death how many carries that Carlos Hyde's going to get. I think Robinson is fine. If price didn't matter, of course he's fine. I like that he's getting so involved in the passing game. We now have 15 targets, which I think is huge. But at 9,400, I just think you can do better. Contrarian game scripts here. Everybody's going to be on Cincinnati, by the way. I should just throw this out before I get too much further. For the GPP people, contrarian game script here. Well, let's just go say chalk game script is that Cincinnati dominates. So contrarian immediately is go the exact opposite way, and that Jacksonville dominates. You could do like a James Robinson captain. Nobody's going to do that. It was kind of like Zeke Elliott on Monday night. Nobody went there because it's been their way around, and Zeke Elliott would have won you a ton of money at the captain spot. So, going a little bit contrarian there, I think makes sense. Marvin Jones Jr. is probably my favorite Jag. This is a hashtag revenge game for him. His target share is absolutely incredible. 28 targets now through 3 games. He's 100% the number 1 wide receiver. You've got a little bit of revenge. I believe it was Cincinnati wasn't going to match what Detroit paid him a few years back. So, Marvin Jones will want to show out, and the usage is there. And we know he's a big play type of guy. So I do like Marvin Jones. T. Higgins is out. Tyler Boyd should be absolutely chalk. I think he's dollar for dollar the best play on the slate. Runs a lot of slot, can also go outside. Burrow just loves him. And I would love him too. He's now led the team in targets the last 2 games, 6, 9, and 4 the first 3. I have him projected in that 7 to 8 target range. I'm going to like him on Prize Picks too. We'll go over that here in a minute. At 7,400, he's just too cheap for the opportunity, so I like him a lot. DJ Chark, boom, bust. His catch expectation is just so bad right now. He's, 12, 16, 22 targets, has only caught 7. That's not good. Hashtag not good. So big play. We know DJ Chark is a very talented guy. Does not seem to be like in the best graces of the coaches. Urban Meyer earlier in camp said that DJ Chark needs to get stronger, I believe. So not awesome. Laviska Shenault has been kind of a disappointment starting out this season. He started with 10 targets the first week, which looked great. And it's been slowly going down since 10, 7, 4, not getting any bulk yardage. They're not using him in gadget plays like we thought they would. Only 2 carries so far this season. I think that could change. I'd hope that they get a little bit more creative, especially with a talent like Shenault, but doesn't seem like Jacksonville is that team right now. All right, skipping down, Bengals D. I think I've talked enough about how much Jaguars are struggling. 7 TDs or 7 interceptions from Lawrence. Also struggling to keep him clean in the pocket. So I think Bengals D is 100% in play. Dan Arnold was just acquired by the Jags. No clue how much he's going to play here, but O'Shaughnessy's on the IR. I think he's worth a YOLO dart, but watch news, see what his snap share is going to be. Uzma, better as like a blocker. I mean, we've seen him be productive in the passing game in the past. He's just getting no targets, 2, 2, and 1. So I think I'd rather have a kicker. Speaking of kicker, former great Evan McPherson looks fine. I kind of say this every week on showdowns. Kickers are always in play. Like, they're going to get you in that like 5 to 12 to 13 range. And if they make a 50-yarder or game script just hits the nut spot, you can get a 15 to 20 point guy for under 4,000. So I think he's definitely in play. Jacksonville's kicker is not in the slate, so we don't have to worry about that. Jags D, no thank you, except for that contrarian game script. Down here, I do think Carlos Hyde's very much worth a go. We know Urban Meyer loves him back to Ohio State days. 8, 2, and 9 carries. It's 1,800, guys. We're going to need a punt. Especially, I've done lineup builds where I only have 1 Jag, and it's Carlos Hyde. So I think that's very in play. Just seeing if there's anybody down here looking at my notes. Auden Tate and Mike Thomas, one of them, seems like they should benefit from T. Higgins. Just snap counts aren't giving much away, and Burrow doesn't seem to like either one of them. And if game script goes to plan, right, Burrow is not really going to have to be passing the ball a ton and spreading it out a ton. He can pass it to Mixon, can pass it to Boyd, can pass it to Chase. So I don't know how much meat on the bone is left for those guys. All right, that'll do it for the Draftkings picks. I hope that those help. Let's jump over to Prize Picks real quick, and I just want to show you a couple of the prop lines that I'm interested in. For those new to Prize Picks and do not know it at all, awesome site, just huge board. You can pick anyone you want. You don't have to play just tonight. You can pick, you can go here to receiving yards. And if you like, Stephon Diggs versus Houston this week, and you want to pair any of these with that, you're good to go there. You just have to wait a little bit longer. But if you are new, click the link in the show notes, promo code FSI, you'll get a $100 match up to $100 on your first deposit. Let's just talk about a couple of them. One, I think this guy's Chenault. If you think the Jags are going to get creative, they did give him a carry in each of the first 2 games. If he gets 1 yard, you win. So I think that's an interesting over. Joe Mixon over 85.5 yards. I have him over the 100-yard marker, so I love Joe Mixon over here, 85.5. Tyler Boyd, I already talked to you. I think that he's the #1 wide receiver tonight for Cincinnati. Should get 7 to 8 targets, so 59.5 yards is very soft. I like that over. Also like over 5 receptions. Marvin Jones Jr. I really don't like all these overs for what it's worth. Like the edge in props and betting and everything is that all books know that people like action. They don't like to root for negative outcomes. They like to root for positive outcomes. So I hate looking overs here, but on Cincinnati, just the overs stand out. Marvin Jones Jr., I think that this is a really, really sharp line, 65.5. If we go back to Jones Jr., let me figure where he's at. So 65.5 is the prop, 62.55 and 77. So he's under on 2 of the 3. I want to say over, but I'm actually kind of thinking that maybe that's an under number there, even with the narrative, but that one's just really, really close. Here's the issue. You have to pick a Jags prop, and I think the Jags props are tough. The other one I actually do like, and again, another freaking over. Trevor Lawrence over 14.5 yards. If you actually go to Trevor Lawrence's game logs, the last 2 games, he's gone over 20 yards in each. Especially if you think that Cincinnati pass rush may get to them, I think it's a decent call. 6 for 27, 2 for 21. We know Lawrence is very athletic, so I don't think that's a bad play at all. So those are my favorite props tonight. And yeah, good luck. It's not the best game ever. If you just play DraftKings and decide not to watch it, don't blame me either. Maybe it's a good family night, but do appreciate y'all watching. Look for more content from us on the weekend. And I'll just say this too, if you're interested in all the sports and you just happen to stumble upon FSI for this, we've got soccer previews coming up. We've got college football coming up. Euro League was up today from Mega Ruler. We have golf, we have NASCAR, just so many previews. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We got you all sorts of good stuff coming your way. Thank you all for watching. With that, I'll say, see you.